Pleased to have with us the mayor of Ashland, Steve Gilmore. Good to see you.
Good morning. Good to see you guys.
First of all, how was France?
France was amazing. I guess there were two instances. One was visiting Monet's garden where he did all his painting, and his home, go through his home, which was unbelievable. Went to a museum to see 8 Van Gogh's originals. They even let you get right up close and take pictures of them. No flashes, but you take pictures. And went to the Louvre in Paris to see the Mona Lisa and just all kinds of beautiful marble statues. It was just wonderful. The most impressive thing I did was go to Normandy and Omaha Beach. Went to Omaha Gold, and Omaha Beach is unbelievable. You see all the movies, about the D-Day landing, and it's, there were, hundreds of people milling around and nobody making any noise, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
It's still sacred ground 70 plus years later. They had a museum there that we went through that was just absolutely, had all kinds of artifacts there. There's still a lot of, the German bunkers are up on the hill, and we toured those. The guns are still there, the 25-mile guns, and they were pretty well bombed out, but they're still there. And then, one of the interesting things, I don't take a lot of time here, but the British worked very hard on these huge concrete blocks. I mean, almost the size of a barge. And they brought them over long before D-Day, just knowing that there would be an invasion at some time. And in order to build a jetty, artificial jetty out in the English Channel, that they could get the ships inside that to where it wouldn't be so tumultuous, because the English Channel, the weather changes in 1 hour, and it's amazing. They're still out there sticking up out of the water, in forming a jetty and all. And then there are some sculptures that it's hard to understand what they really denote, but on the beach. But one of the things I asked in the museum gift shop is they were selling these little vials with Normandy, D-Day on and all that, and I assumed you could get sand off the beach. So I asked, and they said, sure, you can get sand. So I brought a baggie with me and probably put a couple pounds or more of sand, and I awarded a little bit of that with a key to the city on Sunday at our Veterans Day at Onco Park to Ulysses Hayes, who I got to know him through Optimist Club. He's very active in the Boyd County Club. I'm president of the Ashland Club. Over the years, he's a hard worker. Anything he does, he's an unbelievable worker. But to me, his notoriety is pushing. We never forget our veterans, and he's a Marine veteran. But he wasn't in Normandy or anything like that. But I told him the other day that, and when I made the presentation of the sand, that I knelt down there on that beach and dug it in, filled my baggie up and all that. And I thought of him. I thought of a few people I knew that would really be impressed with it. And I thought of our manager, Mike Gracie, retired colonel, and I brought him sand also. But I gave him that Sunday, and it was emotional for me and him at the same time.
Absolutely.
So those were I taught English, history, geography, everything. So it was a history trip for me,
Absolutely.
And one I'll never forget.
Absolutely. All right, then you come back here, and this reality sets in.
Reality, actually, we had the best weather. They said that they could not imagine the weather we were having. The last day, it was a bad day, but we toughed it out. And but when we got back here, it was pretty nice, and then boom,
Here comes the cold weather.
Here it is.
And winter is here, and that usually means water line breaks.
And we have several this morning, and had a couple yesterday. And I honestly don't get it when it just dips down at high 20s, 30, 34. You would think the ground would have to freeze over a while before this happened. We, ironically, as I mentioned to you before we went on the air, we have a meeting, today with a company called Blue Water, who is a consulting company that has been working with us for probably the last 6 months to assist us in a game plan for replacement of water lines. And we're really almost ready to get started on that. We are doing some replacements here and there. In fact, when we did 29th Street, that was a situation that everybody was inconvenienced for several months. But one of the things we did, and one of the first times, that whole project was a mandate from the federal government on combined sewer overflows.
Right.
So that company we had was putting the big lines in there to carry stormwater. Well, in the process, we went ahead and put new water lines all the way up that way, because they're old, antiquated, had problems last few years. So we were able to do a couple things in the same ditch line, which was expedient and effective and but both cost effective and for those residents all the way. And it's branches out a whole big area, not just up 29th Street, every feeder line off of there. So those are the kinds of things we're going to be addressing. And hopefully, I mean, we got 150-year-old lines all over town, and we'll probably do as I've told you before, the major work will be downtown, the oldest areas, but we got a project with some CDBG funds that we're going to do some work out in the Pollard area. That's our next big project starting here real soon, which will entail a whole lot of water line development, which we'll be able to use federal money on that job and also knock out a lot of the lines that need to be replaced. So it's going to be a 20, 30-year project. Small town America, you just don't have the funds just to go do it. But we are earnestly gonna get a game plan, and obviously when we have these breaks, we take note of all of when we look at the hole, we see what we're replacing. We tell immediately how that line is, how far it goes, and so we know to put that down as an area to keep on watching and to replace as soon as possible.
Couple things I want to bring up. News yesterday that probably maybe caused some people to have a little fear, if you will, is that the Public Service Commission's announcement that they weren't going to necessarily approve Kentucky Power's recommendation for running the lines out to where Brady's going to be and what they need for that plant until they can prove to them that they got all the funding that they need. Now, Brady has come back and said that's normal. That's just normal business. People shouldn't get upset. And the Public Service Commission said that doesn't mean don't take anything negative about this, but I'm sure some people have questions.
Yeah. And, I got, I guess maybe the elected officials got a little notice 3 or 4 days ago that this was going to happen until the viability of the Brady project could be shown, before they approve all of this major electrical work. And all of us, I mean, obviously, we got on the telephone tree. What do you think? What do you think? And as late as last night, I had a couple very, active in our community and said, what do you really think? And that means, do you believe this or not? And all that. I said, look, I'm still locked in 100%. They've, until, they've been doing everything they said they were going to do. Started the digging and all when they said they were going to do it. And even when they went to New York to sell some bonds and people were questioning that's a normal process. Yeah. This is, none of us in this room, nor anybody in town has ever been alive when there's been the magnitude of this project in Ashland, Kentucky. When they built Armco Steel, doesn't touch what they're getting ready to do. Marathon plant doesn't touch what they're getting ready to start. $2 billion.
It's not millions, it's billions.
And so some of my friends are pretty good businessmen in town said, they're not sure what's going to happen or not, but they said, but what's going on is a normal process in finance. You don't put that together selling some bonds in Kentucky or right here as they did in our area a couple of months ago. They sold bonds, sold them in a day or two. But it's a monumental effort. You have to go to the big cities to get investors and all that. And, then they say, well, wouldn't they have done it a long time ago? I said, no, because until you start doing what they're doing, nobody's going to buy in. Yeah. Now people are thinking it's going to happen. My firmest feeling is that, it's a go. And, it's not like I'm worried about eating crow if it doesn't go. I'm not involved in it. I wish I had money where I would buy stock in if I had the money to do it. But I believe in it. I think it's going to be just a major plus for every business in this community. And most importantly, it's going to employ a whole lot of our people for years to come. Yeah, and you have to understand the Public Service Commission, the way they look at it is this way. If we approve plans for AEP, Kentucky Power, to build all this power line stuff, and then it doesn't go, well, they're going to have to recoup their costs some way from doing that. And guess how they're going to recoup that cost? They're going to make our electric bills go way, way up. So what they're trying to do is protect the consumer. You bet.
And say, we're not going to prove this until we can see some viability here. Not saying that that viability is not there, and not saying that you should take this in a negative way, but we've got to see this because we've got to protect the consumer, and we should all be happy about that, really.
You bet. You hit the nail on the head. What actually happened, you've said it exactly but what actually happens is the power company goes back to the PSC to raise our rates.
Yeah.
To cover their losses.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that they're doing the right thing. There's no question about it. This is the amount of electric they're going to need out there every day, the amount of water, which is certainly going to help the city of Ashland, that they're going to need every day is going to mean more revenue for everybody involved, more jobs to make sure we're producing all of these things for them. And then, as I said, we're still getting contacts from businesses who want to tag along. As I said before, Mayor might not have one thing to do with the aluminum industry, but they think these people know something.
Yeah.
We have some developers in town now that I wish I could tell you more, and hopefully I can soon. In the proximity to where we're sitting right now, they want to invest in some properties and do some things that would be another big boon to us. I'm telling you, just like when I talked to the Toyota, Clay Green and Lexington, when he finally got in my office, we talked. He said, "Hey, the word in Lexington, Ashland's where it's happening." Well, isn't that not a fresh breath of air from
absolutely
past the Winchester Wall? To hear that. So, and he believes he's putting $7 million facility up there.
That tells you something.
Yeah, he's not throwing money after good money after bad. So, and I think it's starting to vibrate a little bit around the state anyway. The Courier Journal is still working the system because they dislike the governor greatly, and because he seems to be pretty well locked in with Craig Bouchard and Brady, they find that a very negative. Now, if Brady announced that he's going to put another one down around Jefferson County, they'd put him on the front page and call him a hero. But as it stands, they just can't stand for anybody to get it if it's not near them. And truthfully, all my coaching days, teaching days, being the mayor, people throughout the state, they almost think we're in West Virginia up here.
Yeah.
We're clear up here in this little tri-state. They discount us a whole lot in that regard. So this is going to give us a little bit stronger economic ID. And again, all the young people of any age really are going to benefit for many, many years of this. It's going to give good income, people to have nice homes and cars and raise their families and help the schools, and everything works when you get big companies in like this. And I look for, even a more of a renaissance in the whole region due to them, not just in my city. But I think being the capital of this area, we're going to be the focal point.
Hotel seems to be going pretty good.
It's going well. And listen, I would tell people that the developers would want to open it last July. People say, when is it going to open? When is it going to open? And what they're doing is, as they've told me before, and you know this yourself, you can build a house easier than remodeling them.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the same way at this hotel. But it's such a strong structure, they weren't about to do that. But in going in and gutting and running all new HVAC, all new electric lines, everything, all the units in all the rooms, everything replaced. And I've seen, we're getting ready to take a tour. I think we take it tomorrow afternoon, to be honest with you. The commission's going to go through it. But I have seen a couple of the rooms that are just, they're like big town rooms, and I think the lobby, what it's going to look like, it's going to have a big city feel.
Oh, yeah.
And one everybody can be proud of.
Anything else going on in the city we need to talk about?
Well, I hope not.
Well, let's talk about the election because you got the same city commission.
Yeah. Well, and I admire everyone that filed, and I appreciate everybody in every race. We don't get enough people filing. I remember the first time I ran for city commissioner back in another lifetime before my boy M over here was even born, probably.
Yeah.
There were like 24 in the ran for city commissioner. And I didn't know a lot of them, a lot of good people, because Ashland was still here. There's a lot of Ashland people running, all that. And now, this is one of the first races that had a primary and a general in years. Because they had more than 8, that filed. So, I admire everybody that run. I think we have a good commission. I'm very, very proud of the commission that got back in. There were good people, 1 to 8. and I'm proud of them because, you know, to step out there, we have so many good people in Ashland that would make outstanding mayors, outstanding commissioners. They're not going to do it. And a lot of reasons, you know, some of them being they don't want to put the time in, their job's busy and all that. Another thing is people don't want to put their name on a ballot and let people say yes, no. And I don't know why I did it the first time I ever did it. I wasn't thinking. I think to election night, Jim, I remember I said, you know, I could lose this thing. And I had no real thoughts that I'm going to win this easy, but, you know, I could lose this. You know, how am I going to look to my friends and family and all that? But I was in for the duration. But there are a lot of people just not going to put their name out there. And so all these people that do, and I'm hoping they all have the right agendas to do everything they could for our community, our area. I'm proud of all of them for stepping up, and I hope more step up next time.
All right. Mayor, thanks for coming in. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, that's the mayor of Ashland, Steve Gilmore, our guest here the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month on The Breakfast Club.